Hi, my name's Cran. I guess a little bit about my career. I spent nearly 25 years in media in Australia and the UK, in consumer sales and marketing. And I spent a lot of that time transforming teams, so building teams, combining teams, restructuring teams, so a constant theme of transformation. And I was fortunate enough through both my time at Fairfax and at Marshall Cavendish in the UK and with News Corp in Australia for the last 15 years, was lucky enough to be exposed to a whole lot of leadership development training, and it really sparked my passion in that world. In 2015, I decided I would like to become an executive coach. So whilst I was still at News Corp, and that certainly was put to great use in my last few years at News, as I took over increasingly large numbers of people from marketing, field sales, secondary distribution, and subscriptions operations. And then in 2019, I decided I really wanted to pursue my passion of leadership development, and I left News. I took 6 months off to spend time with my kids and move in with my partner. And in February this year, I launched the Team Space, which is a boutique executive, organisational and resilience coaching practice and leadership development consultancy. And I'm currently collaborating with another consultant called Andrew Williams. We've built a purposeful teams leadership development framework, which we're just taking to market at the moment after having done a big research project into the impact of COVID-19 on teams. How did I get to where I am now? Well, a lot of experimentation, a lot of just going with the flow, but also chasing after opportunities. I sort of have an expression or thing that I say to myself that when opportunities cross your path, they're generally meant to be taken. So I haven't ever turned them down until about a year ago, and I'll come on to that. Look, I think I've just gone for things. I knew I was very keen to always lead teams. So I've always followed leadership opportunities, so opportunities to work with teams going through transformation, whether that be taking on a group of 15 graphic designers in a creative services team years ago that had very, very low engagement, and working out a way to sort of improve their daily life. Whether it be going for a big job that I probably thought out of the 3 internal candidates was the least likely of us to get, but actually got it. So I think there's that taking a punt, backing yourself, facing into your fears. Certainly I know there's stats around about women and how we look at job descriptions and we go, well, I can't do 100, I can only do 50% of that, therefore I won't apply. And I think we've really got to be conscious of that. Just really back yourself in. If you really want something, go for it. But I also think too, being selective about your opportunities, as I mentioned before. So when I left News Corp, I was asked to take on a bigger, broader national role, which involved a whole lot more travelling. Excuse me. And I have two kids, and I already was doing quite a bit of travel in a state role. And so for me, that was my opportunity to step out and actually follow my passion, because if I'd taken that role, even though it probably would have looked fabulous on the CV, and it would have been a great role, it wouldn't have allowed me to do the things that I'm doing, the things that were important to me around my family. So I do think there's a bit of that, being shrewd and being a bit clear about what your purpose is. And I got really clear on my purpose, not surprisingly, when I did the Marketing Academy a couple of years ago, and really realised that, my purpose was actually taking all the stuff that I'd learned leading teams and helping others develop themselves as leaders. So the best and worst career advice. All right, well, the best is probably, and we've all heard it, and no, I think it sometimes takes a while to actually believe it, but that really is around being yourself. I think, you come into, if you're in a corporate or agency environment, you come in there and you feel like you've got so much to prove, and we tend to put on a big mask, and we actually tend not to let people see who we really are, when actually the best way to build relationships around you are to just be yourself. And if that includes being vulnerable and admitting to mistakes, and that sort of thing, that's exactly how it should be. In the research that I've done recently, and all the reading that I've done, the best thing to build connected relationships is actually to show your vulnerability. So by, I guess, maintaining your sense of self and just being who you are and sharing the things that you're worried about, your fears, your feelings, the different ways that we all think, I think that's really important. So, in a nutshell, be yourself and don't be afraid to be. The worst career advice I've ever had was from a boss at some stage in my career over the last 25 years, which was, as a woman, you've got to have bigger balls than the men. And that's probably the worst advice I've ever been given. I don't even really, I know where that's coming from, but it's so problematic in that we're sort of saying we have to buy into a specific sort of male behaviour, which of course isn't true and completely flies in the face of what I was just talking about. Be yourself. Don't feel like you have to put on a particular persona. What did I wish I knew when I started my career? It's probably to do with balance. I wish I had known that it was okay to not climb the ladder. I wish I'd known that it was okay to find the experience of being a, career-focused working mother incredibly difficult, and that having it all is fine, except that it's only something we talk about in relation to women. And I wish I'd been more, I wish I'd kept people around me more to account on that, so that, both people in a relationship can have careers and families, rather than it being a case of both of them having it, but one having severe burnout. And unfortunately, that's a sort of gender divide, which is definitely improving. But I really wish I had known that it was okay to want it all, so long as you had the right support. And I wish I'd thought about that notion at the beginning, that no one actually talks about that in relation to men. It's always a conversation about women wanting it all. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's difficult to do that on your own. And we need to, I think, continue and expand that conversation. The biggest mistake I've ever made. There are several, there are many. How do you pick just one? Look, I think there are probably two. One is that whole thing around empty desking, recruiting someone into a role that in your gut you know is not right, but you just need to fill the role, and so you make a bad decision. You actually don't follow your instincts. I did that once and paid the price and learned the hard way. The other mistake that, I think as a leader you keep learning is that as a leader, it's not your job to make everything okay, and it's not your job to be the knower of everything and be right. And I think, you sort of learn that over and over again, to step back and let the team evolve, let the team be empowered, let the team work out who's knowing and who's trying to get right. When there are situations in teams where, there's stuff going down, there's tensions, or there's disagreements, your job as a leader is to kind of hold that space and help the team use that to solve problems. Because it's in those really difficult moments that teams really advance in terms of their relationships, not to mention psychological safety. So if you go around making sure that everything's okay and those sorts of situations never happen, you actually never get to create You never get to use those moments, and they're really, really important in the scheme of things. Look, I think the key to my success, if I can put it in those terms, is probably an ability that I didn't even realise I had until, probably not that long ago even. But I do have an ability to connect with people easily and build rapport with people. And I think the fact that I can do that, I'm really comfortable with ambiguity, I'm comfortable being vulnerable. I think those things have meant that people have been perhaps likely to come on a leadership journey with me or a team journey with me, because I'm not trying to paint a picture of perfection, and I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm aiming for behaviours that help groups of people achieve things together. So I think, that ability to deeply connect with people has definitely been the consistent thread throughout my career, whether it be, working with agencies, recruiting people, bringing new people into teams, transforming teams, taking over teams, which is always difficult in transformations, and there having, often being some skepticism as to who you are and why you're now in charge. And so the ability to really connect with people on a deep level, on a personal level, I think has definitely helped people trust me and listen to me. And I think the fact that I've shown them respect in return, I'm really interested in other people. I'm interested in people's perspectives. I'm interested in the way people think differently. And I think those things have been key to my leadership success.